Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to today's daily recap, Friday, October 9th. And this market continues to be elusive, going from very weak to snapping back. And you can see the volatility that's ensuing here, especially after this, sell-off from this high-level base, this multi-month base. Once we broke, this action seems to be, again, in my opinion, corrective more than anything else. Now, granted, I've been talking about downside for a while, but we still, you can see the last test into this area right here resulted in a big topping tail. Looks like we're going to retest into this area, the 21 EMA here. Again, this is a weekly chart, but chasing this kind of upside has not proven to be, has not proven to be a profitable strategy. For those that, were able to participate in whatever upside, the market gave, that's great, but it was fast and furious as it has been, most of it stemming from what was a reversal last Friday right here, and then gapping up and trading higher. Now, as we look at the daily, I would watch this short-term rising channel here to see how it acts over the next couple of days. A break below this channel could spell a trade down to possibly fill this open gap right there. So keep your eyes out in the short term. Let me go back to the weekly. I just want to touch on one more point, and it's a pattern I think everybody needs to pay attention to. And I brought it up before. You have your support down here. You can see multiple tests along this level. Even the sell-off here, testing into this big support area and then snapping back. But it looks to me like you have the potential, again, I'm going to use the word potential because it's not fully developed, of a head and shoulders pattern, which is really just a pattern that you see typically at tops and bottoms of markets. You have this very, large, U-shaped pattern. And then ultimately, over time, this could develop into the right shoulder. I don't think the complex is, fully developed. If so, what does that mean? Well, it means we'll probably find some sort of resistance, over here. And again, I'm dealing with a weekly chart, whether it's this week or next week. That ultimately then leads to some, more downside that could ultimately then lead to a much larger down move. So, I want to put that in everybody's radar because, traders ultimately that do well are traders that can anticipate. They can anticipate, what could or should happen next. And it's not just about the ability to see a pattern, but it's about the ability to step in when the path of least resistance it favors being involved. So if in the event, again, I'm putting out hypotheticals, this winds up being some sort of right shoulder structure. And as I've said before, this is something that will develop over time. It's not going to happen in 1 week or 2 weeks. It'll happen over the course of several weeks, if not, longer. But if that is the case, then ultimately being, net short the market up in and around this area is probably the smart play in terms of risk to reward. Now, it doesn't mean you're going to be right. If in the event, the market continues to drive higher, that we always have to think about what are the risks. But in the event that this starts to play itself out, just kind of keep that in the back of your mind as to the possibility that exists. Now we are going into earnings season, into the later part of this month, so you're going to see a lot of probably wild individual price movements. You're going to see some sectors either pop or drop as they always do, but we still need to keep our eyes on sort of the broader market and think about tailwind. Where do we have tailwind and when are the probabilities in our favor to step into a trade? So I'm not suggesting anybody do anything. I'm just putting it out there in terms of, if this exists, well, then this should potentially happen. So I'm thinking about, what the risks are and what could potentially be the outcomes. So I just wanted to kind of go through that. Now, as we look at, stocks, and I'm not going to, cover everything, but, a couple of momentum names. This is Tesla having some tough times. You're not seeing a lot of, real energy in some of the high flyers that you've seen. Many of these high flying stocks, the Netflixes of the world, you're seeing some short term, a week up, a week down. But it's been a rather tight trade. Apple, most notable, has been really, really tight over the last 6 weeks, a really, really narrow range. Google. Some of the go-to high beta names been really, really. I would call them out of play. It's not that they're not going to go up or down on any given day. These stocks always go up, a handful every day or down a handful every day. But there's been a real lack of follow through, right? And you can kind of just see it in the overall ebb and flow here, up, down, up, down, up, down. And I'm not saying it won't resolve itself. This could clearly resolve itself, but I think a lot of these stocks are going to continue to stay in these narrow patterns until earnings are announced, and some of them, like I said, may have agendas to go higher. Some of them may have agendas to go lower. So we'll see. But in terms of the overall market structure, that's what we're seeing now. Some diamonds in the rough, right? Things that people have forgotten about. Gold, the GLD, I think, is an interesting setup. Gold obviously has been dead and buried for quite some time. Gold, and specifically the gold miners. But as we look at gold, there may be some opportunity here as gold seems to be looking like, we made a low, we made a higher low. And if we do, take out this area, there could be some opportunity for some upside here, some short-term reversal. We saw it in the GDX. Let's see the GDX, right? So the GDX, you can see, although it's been, breaking down, lower lows, lower highs, we did get a nice, a nice multi-week consolidation, and we did see gold miners typically, have a nice week to the upside. Same thing with energy names. You can pretty much across the board. EOG is one that I was looking at earlier. EOG, and these are weekly charts, so you can see the kind of week that EOG had. Now, as we look at the daily, again, short covering rally. Whatever it is, we saw some upside here. You can see made a low, held that low, and then immediately turned up. Now, as this particular stock, stands right now, certainly not a buy. Into its 200 EMA here, you can see just based on today's price action, looks like upside momentum maybe, coming to a halt. And for those that participated in any upside here, if you kind of jumped on board this train, although it didn't give you much of an opportunity, probably not the right time. And if anything, probably primed for a pullback. And as you can see, the 21 EMA here kind of flatlining, this pullback could be, pretty substantial or more severe than what you may anticipate. So I don't think you're totally out of the woods in a lot of these energy names, but certainly for short-term cash flow trades, certainly some tradable opportunities, both I think long and short. So, for those that are looking for more cash flow short-term trades, some of those names may be worth a look at, both in the energy and oil, as well as some of the gold and gold miners. So that's going to do it for tonight. Just wanted to give a brief overview, and cover a couple of sectors, the market itself, give you my 2 cents. And as I always do on a Friday, we're about a month out to the Finance Festival, and it's looking like it's going to be a packed house. Very, very excited. We have some amazing presentations in store for you. So for those that are, interested in a look ahead to 2016 from some of the most, the most intellectual and fascinating minds, people that I know personally that I think are just, a cut above, that I always listen to, certainly going to be there. And you're going to get a great look at, the future of artificial intelligence and social sentiment, and the economy and the Fed and monetary policy and technical analysis and trading and all different insights for, like I said, some really, really unique thought leaders. So with that, t3live.com/festival. I hope to see you in Miami in early November, and I hope everybody has a nice weekend.